Wait for you to sit. Hi everybody, my name is Alan Singer. I'm the Director of Social Studies Education at Hofstra University. This is Dean Bacigalupo. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Jessica Herman.
Chris Gardner.
Kate Seifert.
Okay. Chris, Jess, Kate just finished edTPA. And we thought we would have a brief discussion we'll post it online to help other people who are preparing for edTPA. Now, I work with the student teachers and I help them develop their lesson plans, and I also teach their methods classes. Dean runs a seminar while they're student teaching, which helps them think about the issues that they're going to be writing about, the theories they're going to be writing about in their edTPA portfolio. In the methods class, I stress two things. One, relax about your videotape because it's just a movie. And that the key to edTPA is your analysis of the teaching and your analysis of student work. So, anything you want to add before we throw it to the three?
I think we can start with them.
All right, so what's your advice to people doing edTPA?
Stay on top of it. Don't wait till the end to start getting on top of it. Do a little bit at a time. Get the context for learning done as early as possible. Work on the planning commentary a little bit as you go. But definitely don't wait till the end to start working on everything, because then it makes it much more of a headache than it has to be.
Now, what kind of students did you work with?
I worked with a diverse group in an honors class, a lot of ESL learners. A lot of them were performing below grade level, even though they're an honors class. So it was a challenging group, but a good group to work with.
We have two more people coming to join us. Pull up chairs on that side of the table. Come on in. We got Nikki and we got Juliana. We're just talking about what people's experiences were. Chris, how about you? What is your advice to people?
Don't think you know better than these two guys right here, or know what you know, and then if there's someone that you obviously they know more than you, they're kind of like more on top of their edTPA stuff. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't don't stray out of the bounds. Just listen to these guys, and just do what you need to do. Don't no need to be crazy with this thing,
right.
Creative, but just do it. Yeah.
Right, it's not a creative activity, it's following directions. If you follow directions and answer the questions, you pass. If you try to reinvent the wheel, that's when you fall into difficulty. How about you, Jess? What was your experience like?
I think looking back, I would have looked at the planning commentary questions before I actually planned my lessons for edTPA. That would be the smart choice. I procrastinated on that part. I was like, oh, I'll just videotape it and fit it in. But you definitely want to have group work in one of those lessons. Think pair, share in all three if you can, because that just gives you the best options. Videotape before you actually start your 3 videotapings so that the kids get used to the camera in the room. That was great advice that Dean gave us. And so that you get used to it too. You make sure the microphone's working and everything, that the camera's charged, you have a memory card ready to go. But like Kate said, the biggest thing is staying on top of it and getting everything done as early as you can. It's the planning.
There's something you just said I think is very, very important. In the edTPA, you're very nervous because you think it's about you. But it's not about you, it's about what the students are doing. And so that in the lessons that you plan, what you want to do is create the possibility for student-to-student interaction. So you want to be able to ask questions that have multiple answers, different points of view, so that students can begin to discuss them. What I always say is if the students begin to argue about something, it's like, well, the bells go off, you really hit it. And it's the same with the student assessment of their individual work. They're looking that you understand what the students are doing, what the students need to learn, and that you are able to articulate it, and then come up with a strategy to assist the students. You're not the star of your movie. The kids are the star, you're just a supportive player. That's, like, you mentioned different kinds of gallery walks and things.
Mhm.
What did you do?
I did a gallery walk on changes for women in the Roaring Twenties. We did Prohibition, and they did Think, Pair, Share multiple times, so I asked them to answer a question, or they worked with somebody to answer a question and analyze a graph, and then they shared their answers with other students. So I made sure that there was student-to-student interaction.
Did you do anything like that, Nikki?
In my class, we did a group work of 4, and we read through 8 different sources on the Great, like who, what, where, when, why of the Great Depression. And I actually stopped a student, like Dee was saying, and if they say something like significant that you want to share to the rest of the class, I like called the class, you know, made sure I got that students interacting with other students, so yeah. And then my other lesson was pair work. So they were working together, analyzing a document.
But how did you assess what they were doing?
At the end of it, they had exit tickets at the end of each class. So I was able to see and use a rubric how they actually understood what was told so that for the next day I could prepare.
Now, how did you assess their learning?
We did different ways, informal, formal. We did a lot of group work, so I would walk around with a notepad and keep an eye on what kind of answers they were coming up with. That was also a really good way to direct the discussion afterwards. So if you had one student who wrote something and another who wrote something completely different, you could ask them to volunteer and sort of guide a discussion between them. And then exit tickets are a big one. It's an easy way to see how much they're getting out of the lesson at the end.
How about you? How did you assess?
Just did exit tickets for each one, a short answer response. I think only one of them was more guided. The other ones were much more open-ended, opinion-based. Like which amendment do you think is the most important and why? And then the one that was more guided, which was why is federalism a good system? So we did the Constitution.
What grade was this?
7. So that was, it was good to have something like more concrete to have, just because that's such a difficult topic when you're just introducing, like they didn't even know what the Constitution was. So it was like, that was a little more, it just was better to have something like that where I could kind of say, okay, this kid understood the lesson. Or that kid, you know, even if they didn't give me something perfect, at least I could see if I was headed in the right direction when it came to planning my lesson.
Now, you had buddies who you worked with at your school.
The other student teachers, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did having a buddy help at the school, but also as you were preparing the material?
For us, it was always just better and beneficial to have a second pair of eyes, because if you're looking at your lesson plan over and over, you might, on the one hand, not catch something that might not work out, or on the other hand, you know, be a little more critical on yourself. So Jen and I would just help each other, maybe make something a bit more creative, or say, this worked with my class, maybe it would work with yours. Just feeding off each other and trying to combine creative brains.
We're videoing NTPA experience. You can pull the chair and sit over here, Tyler.
Oh, sure.
I see you have your school T-shirt on.
Of course.
Ready for another field trip?
Yes, always.
Juliana, how did your NTPA go?
It went.
What was the best part of it?
I would say the different activities that we did try that the class was otherwise not used to were effective. We did one activity that was like a 5-3-1, where students had the opportunity to read one document, but they read the same as the rows around them. So at first they had to come up with like the 5 main ideas on their own, then turn to a partner and agree on the top 3 out of their combined, and then turn and work in a group of 4 to have like the 1 main idea of the document, and then turn around and share that with the rest of the class. And despite the kids not having done a lot of group work before, it was effective because it scaffolded the work like on your own, so you understood it with a partner in a smaller group, and then 4, and then eventually it was a full class discussion.
What were some of the things that you grappled with that were difficult for you?
I had a class that never worked in groups before, and they're otherwise not an advanced group. I had a lot of kids with 504s in that class, so it was difficult to coach them quickly to working in groups. So any kind of group work had to be scaffolded. And so doing edTPA early on was not as effective had I, if I waited another week or two to film. So I ended up refilming because of that. And so the second time it was a little bit better. The kids were more used to working in groups by then.
So how did you adapt your learning to, because you're talking, one of the things we're trying to do is support different kinds of learners. How did you adapt your lessons, your work, to be supportive of different groups of kids?
The first time I filmed, I just tried having group work, like 4 kids, 5 kids in a group. And when that didn't work, I realized I would have to do smaller groups, like that 5-3-1 activity where they'd work with a partner first, and then work in a bigger group. And then I also rearranged seats so that people who were sitting near each other could help one another out rather than, the alphabetical order they were sitting in, which was kind of random.
Did anybody come up with creative ways to support diverse learners? Because I think that's a big challenge on edTPA. It's a challenge for teachers, but here you are brand new, as you said, your third week as a teacher, as a student teacher, and all of a sudden you're trying to address the needs of diverse learners in your classroom.
Well, for the kids that had at our school, we had a lot of kids that had just coming from Haiti every 2 weeks, and most of them just didn't speak any English at all. And basically the goal was just to get them to kind of learn English was really the point, just through social studies. They would just copy down stuff. They did the work and everything. But I tried to, there were Haitian kids, their parents were Haitian, they spoke fluent English, and kids who were just kind of no interest in American history really at all. So I tried to, because I kind of like that though, because I kind of tied it to the Haitian Revolution. I was able to kind of bring all that together. And so when we did the American Revolution, I brought in that, I can't remember his name, but you probably know him, the drummer in the Siege of Savannah, he becomes king.
You don't mean, not Toussaint Louverture?
No. I can't remember his name, but he becomes king of Haiti. I incorporated him into an activity about who was involved in the revolution and stuff like that. Or when I talked about the Bill of Rights, I talked about during the same time the Bill of Rights is being written, that the Haitian Revolution just started, and which amendment would, because it's a slave uprising, would people maybe want to include in the 10, stuff like that I would throw at them. And they liked that. I mean, I think they were, I don't know if they necessarily remembered it, but at least they were paying attention for those couple of minutes. And,
It's also, you organized the lessons to touch on who they were in their lives.
Yeah, and I wanted to show them that, history is, when the whole world is kind of connected. When events happen somewhere else, and it could affect something that happens here. So what's going on in Haiti isn't necessarily unimportant to what's going on in the United States in 1792.
Anybody else have recommendations for working with diverse learners?
I had a lot of E and L students, so they were all Spanish speakers. So what I tried to do is the ones who really did not know much English, in a class I tried to pair 2 of them together, and then one person who was bilingual, who understood the content material, who was a little bit ahead of the class, but also was bilingual, so that they could help them, and then I would give them extra support as they worked in groups. And I also rearranged their seats so that 2 students who did not know English very well were sitting together so they could talk to each other and support each other, and then they also had a bilingual speaker near them so that they could ask them while I was teaching if they had an issue with the material.
Other ideas? Yeah. Tyler.
In my 8th grade classroom that I filmed for edTPA, there were a bunch of students who were children of Mexican immigrants in the classroom, but then a couple other students who were very strong Republicans. They would
In political Republicans?
Yeah, political Republicans, to the point where anytime a political conversation went up, I knew exactly what that person was going to say, and they would ironically say build the wall. And as you can probably imagine, there's a lot of tension there. So what I did was just try to sort of it was during the Great Depression. What I did was I included one of my articles that I had them do for the 531 system. One of the articles that I used was about Mexican immigration during the Great Depression, and I made it so that the Republicans could see the other perspective, and at the same time the Mexican immigrant students could allow to see themselves reflected in the reading, so that's not just white history in the 1930s or something like that.
What I also like is what you did is you took the issue that you needed to address for the class, but you did it within a historical context, looking at the 1930s. So that gave the class a little bit of distance from what was going on in their own controversies.
If I did it like a modern article that was written yesterday, they would have been like fighting each other. But like since I gave them that article that gave them that distance from the 1930s, it really helped. It sort of like cooled the tensions a little bit.
And also gave them some experience starting to work together across differences.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Did you notice any changes during the course of the semester?
I actually did notice that one of the students, his name was James. He was like the most outspoken of the group. He would still be outspoken on every other issue except for immigration. He'd be like a little bit toned down since he knew the other students there and their perspectives. So he was like, I think he still held his viewpoints, but I think he was less inclined to be as abrasive about them.
I think maybe they began to develop some respect for each other.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So,
Well, I could say, I think, based on everything everybody said here, one of the most important things you can do is learn your students and learn who they are and learn what their interests are and learn what their strengths are and learn what their weaknesses are. Because ultimately, we're planning our lessons to support them and help them to grow as learners while they're learning social studies. Advice would be obviously the same we do with our students. We give them the rubric before the assignment, and we make sure they understand what the expectation is on the assignment, and edTPA does provide a series of rubrics to view, and so I would always say, that's where you should start. Make sure you understand the expectation before you even go in to begin to film and put it all together. But I'll also say, I think one of the biggest challenges are, you're a pre-service teacher that went through a college program for you to teach students. You didn't go through a college program to become an administrator. That's a completely different program. That's another 60 credits, whatever it may be. And there are many aspects of edTPA that ask you to do the role of an administrator. And, and that's a personal opinion of mine. I don't think that's fair to ask somebody to do edTPA in isolation without the support of people around you. So I thought it was a very smart idea to pair up with somebody and to bounce ideas. I also thought it was a very smart idea in your schools to go out and speak to other professionals in the school where you were having trouble. And I know along the way you had administrators come in and observe and give you some feedback. So I think, that was also very important, because this is not what the program was designed for. The program's designed for you to teach. The program's not designed for you to become a principal. If you want to do that in the future, that's a different program. But edTPA kind of incorporates both. And so to have that feedback from somebody in your school, I think is something, you just have to make sure you have that link and you have that person come into your classroom to give you some of that feedback.
someone wants to go ahead. All right. Hi, just have a seat, we'll be with you in a second.
Thank you.
Okay. There's one other thing I wanted to add, and something that I wanted to know how you responded. One of the things that we argue here, just as we want the kids in your classes to work in teams, we argue that you needed to work in teams. We encourage you to work together on your planning, on your evaluation. Just how did that work out? Just working together as a team to complete edTPA.
I don't think I would have been able to do it.
Yeah, he wouldn't have finished.
I've joked like 3 times. I was like, when I get my degree, I'm gonna like cut it up and like hand it out. I no way would I have passed it without any kind. Every day I was like, so what's this?
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what is this whole thing? I don't understand this.
A lot of us went into our second placements where we're now alone and we're not with the other student teachers, and the experience is completely different, even without edTPA being an element in the second placement. In the first, you're really just leaning on each other, you're proofreading each other's work, you're deciphering edTPA, even if it's just as simple as reading through somebody's and helping them insert the buzzwords, because even when we're talking right now, we're still using the edTPA buzzwords. Scaffolding, formal assessment, analyze, yeah, you get so into that vocabulary. The edTPA vocabulary is everything. These buzzwords mean everything. But yeah, we helped each other out.
Yeah, you
So
definitely
much.
cannot do this on your own.
No, that's why it
You
was great
need-
to have the student teaching and a
Oh,
TPA class here, because you made connections.
Also, I felt like
And we're able to
student
use it.
teaching and then taking some time and starting to do it at TPA, you were able to like experience it in the class, and it was easier for you to write about it like at the same time almost. Because I know other universities, they kind of push it off a little further, and you could do it as you please. Since we were forced to do it like in that time space, it definitely benefited me at least.
Thank you all very much, and I think this will be helpful to people.
I need to
This
read.
is advice for the next group. Take it.
Okay.